Okay, it's Sunday, which means against my better judgment, it's time to go to Reddit and see what questions we can dredge up from this hive of scum and villainy. So, Mercy players aren't the only ones who should be thinking about the Mercy nerf, and this basically goes on to talk about how Mercy is not as good after being healed, but the main issue they point out is that mostly people are just not accounting for the fact Mercy can't erase all their mistakes anymore, which is a similar thing that happened once her res got nerfed, and people had to adjust then as well. It's a good point, yes. If you have a Mercy as your healer, you should acknowledge that she is not as good at healing as she used to be, so you should perhaps be less suicidal, just in general, but, particularly when there's a Mercy on your team. Tips for handling a buffed Bastion behind 2 shields. The same thing as usual, basically. Switch to a lot of shield breakers, like Junkrat, Roadhog, Pharah, Hanzo, all these people. Good at breaking barriers, because that's what the comp's more about than anything else. Yeah, the comp is about Bastion doing a lot of damage, but the backbone of it is actually the fact that Bastion is hidden behind a lot of shields. So if you can break the shields, then Bastion's just out in the open and you can kill him. Ana's also a good one because you can put the bio grenade on him and he can't heal anymore. You can trank him and it takes him out of turret form. One interesting one I've seen come up now and then, which requires a little bit of coordination, is you get a Mei and a Roadhog. Mei lifts the Bastion up, and then Roadhog hooks the Bastion off of the wall. So that works if you've got a friend. Or you can just coordinate with somebody in the game. But the Sombra's also a good one, because she can hack Bastion, take him out of turret form. The Emp breaks both the barriers that are in the way. All that stuff. The main issue is just that it's very hard for a single person to deal with Bastion. It requires an amount of teamwork from your team, because the Bastion comp, horror upon horrors, is actually using teamwork, right? It's like Bastion, Mercy, and Reinhardt or Orisa, maybe both, working together. It's very hard for one person to beat 3 or 4 people. So it requires an amount of teamwork, and for your team to actually not just keep suiciding on the Bastion, which is the usual sticking point as far as most competitive games go. But basically try and break the shields is about the most consistent way. Or as well, Hanzo can throw the Dragon Strike at it, makes Bastion get up and move out from behind the shields, and then he's exposed, blah 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 blah. Or if it's like they're coming, if you've got an Orisa, you can yank Bastion off of the payload if he's attacking, or off the high ground if he's next to a ledge, blah blah blah. All the usual stuff, but the gist is you kind of need teamwork. So, lose your ego, then medals matter, and actually mean something. So I do dislike the fact that people just seem to blanketly say medals don't matter. Sometimes they do matter. Sometimes they actually convey to you important information. The problem is that a lot of people are it's like the Reinhardt's I've got gold damage, the DPS are trash, when in reality it's very easy to get gold damage as Reinhardt, but getting gold damage as Reinhardt while also actually being a tank is very difficult to do. Or the McCree is I've got gold damage, so I'm beating all of you scrubs, when gold damage is 1,500. Which is fucking all, basically. That's 2 Roadhogs, basically. So, medals do sometimes matter. The problem is that people take it too far. Some people have told me that if you narrate out loud what you're doing in-game, it will help you improve in some ways. I do it every now and then, but it feels a bit awkward doing so, but I want to know if this is actually beneficial, and what ways will it help you. So it won't really, in practical terms. It's the same idea as the rubber duck method of programming, which is literally you put a rubber duck in front of you and you explain to the duck what your code does, and that's supposed to help you figure out the issue. It's not really gonna help most of the time. It's basically just kind of it's meant to be you're thinking more actively about what you're doing, because you have to vocalize what you're doing, which is forcing you to think about what you're doing. I don't really think that's particularly helpful. In fact, I think it distracts you more than anything else because you're probably spending more time thinking about how to vocalize what you're doing rather than actually, like, doing it. So I don't think it actually helps. Let's consult the comments on this thread and see if people agreed. I know what I'm doing in my head. It's probably a better way to do it. Yeah, that's like the gist. Help when you can't use the knowledge you have and can't focus on doing it. Make you aware. Good talk, team. I don't think it's helpful. I wouldn't worry about it too much. So the theory is just that you're thinking more about what you're doing. I think I'm happier being at a lower rank. Good for you. Oh, Jesus Christ. Is Junkrat worth getting good at? If you want to play Junkrat, is the basic answer. Junkrat, he's fine. He gets pretty countered by some heroes, like Pharah, but Junkrat's good, you know? If you like Junkrat, sure, play Junkrat. Is Genji viable in this meta? There has yet to be a point in time at which Genji was completely unviable. Genji has always been viable, and will probably continue to always be viable, because Dragon Blade is really strong, and even if Genji's counters are strong, Genji has ways to outplay his counters, so you can usually still get around it anyway. So yeah, it's hard to imagine Genji ever being unviable. Symmetra turrets and teleporter issue bug question. So the thing here was basically that when Symmetra teleports her turrets onto the base of the teleporter hitbox is on top of the turrets, which makes it hard to break the turrets unless you have a cleave. Which, I guess that's true. I've just never really noticed because I play heroes that have cleaves. And it's gonna be pretty rare that you don't have a hero that can break the turrets without breaking the teleporter first. Because, like, you can also just, like, have a splash weapon. Like, if, like, Soldier's there and he fires the rockets in, that'll break them all. So, you know, it's hard to imagine that ever really mattering except in, like, some edge case scenarios. But, I mean, I guess it does work out that way. There was something out, I was saved from a Doomfist because a Symmetra put a teleporter in front of me because the Doomfist was charging at me with his rocket punch, but the enemy's teleporter hitbox took precedent, so Doomfist just, like, stopped dead in front of me because he collided with the base of the teleporter before he collided with me, so the teleporter hitbox can make for some weird interactions sometimes, yes. Who are the best heroes to climb solo queue with in the current meta? Hanzo is really good. Bridget's really good at basically all these. They're good at all SRs because mostly is predicated on you being, like, good at the hero more than anything else. Who else is good? Moira's good. Reaper's good. Genji and Tracer are always good. If you're good at Reinhardt, he's really easy to climb with because you just outplay the other Reinhardt and Earthshatter the enemy team. Low SRs, Winston's really good because people panic and don't know how to react to you. When I say low SR, I mean, like, below gold. Winston's, like, really easy to play, and people don't know what to do in that SR when Winston's on you. Soldier's really good at basically all SRs. He's very, like, the most independent hero in the game. He can, like, fight off divers just because of the biotic field. He does very high, consistent damage. He has a threatening ultimate that punishes people for being out of position. Can break barriers, all that stuff. Soldier's really good. I know it says specifically solo queue, but if you have a duo, then Pharmacy is always really good. Roadhog's good at low SR, punishes mistakes. Yeah, those are the only ones I can think of. You know, Widowmaker, if you're, like, really good at Widowmaker, but that's a hard one to do. Yeah, those are like the best heroes to solo climb with, basically. And they tend to be the best ones. It's not really a list that fluctuates that much, really. Try to avoid people who have limited agency over the game, like Mercy, avoid Mercy, because Mercy's only way, avoid Mercy in low SR, like below gold. Avoid Mercy, because Mercy's only real way to interact with the game is by tethering to her teammates. She doesn't really get to directly interact with the game herself much, which means there are quite a few situations Mercy can find herself in where there's just actually nothing she can do about the situation, because she has her teammate. She requires a base level of competence from her teammates. So avoid someone like Mercy. Avoid someone like Zenyatta, because you're somewhat dependent on your team being able to help you. You can mitigate some of that by just positioning better, but like there's sort of a point, like very low SR people don't dive you properly, so you can get away with Zenyatta, but like there's a point where people get competent at diving on you, but your team isn't competent enough to actually help you, where Zenyatta becomes difficult to play, which is kind of around, like, mid-gold, where people will actually dive you at this point, but your team will probably not actually help you. So Zenyatta so there's sort of a middling point where Zenyatta becomes difficult to play. But, like, try to avoid, like, Mercy. Very dependent on her team actually being competent. All the other main healers, Moira and Ana, are better main healers to pick than Mercy, because they actually have, like, they directly interact with the game themselves. Mercy indirectly contributes to the game, basically. So, could someone explain the endorsement? Is there something... I stayed at level 1 after constant endorsements from my team. I've not gotten above 2, and I get endorsed relatively regularly. I don't know. I don't really care either, though, is the thing. Advanced Winston tips. Alright. So, punch before you land. Very basic one. Do slightly more damage to armored targets in particular. I think it maths out to be a more significant gain against armored targets. Then I saw this whole like convoluted breakdown about it a while ago. When you're jumping through the air, I'm serious. When you're jumping on someone, jump and then spin around in the air so that you fly at them ass first. And the reason for that is because you're flying at them ass first, they can't headshot you while you're flying in, which means you will be more survivable on average. Winston's a pretty easy hero to play. The biggest thing is, like, Primal Rage, because most people playing Winston just kind of think of Primal Rage as, like, well, I'm going to disrupt the enemy team, just kind of, like, jump in and just, like, do whatever. And I mean, sometimes that's all you have to do. But when you properly optimize Primal Rage, it becomes quite easy to kill people at the same time. The idea is, if you, like, really want to kill one dude, the idea is you jump on that person, and then you Primal Rage, you punch the person in Primal Rage, they fly away, but your jump reset off popping Primal Rage, so you follow them, you land in front of them again, but then you wait for your jump cooldown, you punch them, follow them again, punch, 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 punch. They're dead. You can, like, punch them while you're flying through the air, land on them, punch them again. They're basically dead at that point. There's also the thing that, because of, like, the arc Winston's fists do, he kind of, like, bats people off to the side if you aren't looking directly at them. Because he doesn't, like, punch, right? He, like, cleaves you. So if they're off-center, they kind of, like, get knocked off to the side. So Primal Rage is, like, an ability that kind of just makes people do whatever when they're doing it, because it's, like, a very chaotic ultimate to use. I find it very hard to keep track of what's happening when I'm using it. But if you exercise a degree of patience while using Primal Rage, it becomes easier to kill people with it, rather than just jumping in and, like, bap, 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 doing whatever. Sometimes that's all you need to do, is just, like, disperse the enemy team, but sometimes you, like, really want to kill a dude, in which case, you know, there's an amount of patience in there with killing somebody. So this is something I've said a bunch of times. Always use your hero's name in game instead of me or I. No one knows who me is unless you're playing in a consistent 6-stack. This is true. I don't even join the fucking chat, but, like, that's something that annoys me, just, like, seeing other people doing it. Shooting AD spammers. On Xbone, I remember an instance where I was Orisa shooting this AD spammer by copying their movements, and I think I jiggled the right stick rapidly as well. I remember watching a Kabaji video, where he briefly explained he quickly microflicks his mouse right and left to combat AD spammers. This obviously doesn't work with snipers and non-automatic fire weapons, which probably calls for some predictive crosshair placement. How do you fight AD spammers, and how often do you win duels against them? So, it sort of depends on what they're doing, because if they spam it badly, they won't actually be moving that much. So you can just sort of, because if you do spam AD too quickly, you don't actually move very much. So if they're doing it very badly, it's quite easy. You just put your cursor in, like, the middle point of where they're spamming, and you'll always hit them, because they aren't actually, like, deviating enough to actually, like, dodge you, basically, or juke you. So if they're doing it, like, competently, though, well, the thing is, if I'm playing, like, a hero like that, like, that cares about this kind of thing, I'm usually playing Soldier, which is less of an issue. When I played more McCree, my plan was usually either, you know, predict when they're gonna move, which is hard to do if they're just, like, randomly pressing the button, but most people do it kind of rhythmically. So if you're paying attention, you can sort of tell when they're gonna do it, because even if they're doing it randomly, people tend to have, like, a pattern in there somewhere, because they're, like, they tend to, like, rhythmically move their fingers back and forth. Or just flashbang them, you know. But my advice would be play Soldier. Less of an issue when you have an automatic weapon, you know. Less precision required. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. The last few days, I went from climbing out of bronze to not winning a single game in the last 20 or so I've played. Went from 60 to 30 more losses than wins. I have no idea what has happened. I've been bronze since Season 1. I didn't play since Season 3 and picked it up last season. I watched a lot of videos, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be I'm a support main playing mostly Mercy. Don't do that. Moira and Lucia, so apparently a Fire Emblem character. That's very impressive. I play around corners and cover, but that's not going to help in bronze. The whole thing. Moira, I play a bit more aggressive. That's the way. Lucia, you know, look. I stay right in the middle of my team, keeping my healing aura active. No. You got that shit backwards. The idea is to be in the speed aura as much as possible, because that's, like, the thing that you pick Lucio for. This is the thing with, like, all of the supports, is that the reason they are picked is very rarely for their healing output. It tends to be the thing that is attached, like, the other things attached to them, right? Because if you want to just talk, like, raw healing output, there's no reason to pick anyone other than Moira, because she has the highest healing output by far of all the healers. So it's very rarely, like, their healing that's the reason that they're picked. Like, even Mercy, your archetypical healer, is not picked because of her healing. She's picked because of the damage boost and res. Lucio is picked because of the speed boost. Zenyatta is picked because of Transcendence and Discord. Anna is picked sort of for her healing output, but it's mostly for the utility attached to her abilities, like Nano Boost, basically saving a person and making other people exponentially better at the game, because suddenly you've given this extra buffer. Bio Grenade is as strong as ever, and the Sleep Dart is a very strong crowd control effect. No healer is actually, like, picked because of their healing, right? Like, if it was just a healing thing, Moira would be the best healer in the, like, she'd always be the best support, because she is significantly above the other healers. Like, the last time I saw, like, a comparison between their healing per second, it was, like, Moira's above Anna by, like, 700 healing per second, like, without using ultimates. I think with ultimates included, it was, like, Moira's, like, 2,000, and Anna's, like, 1,000. It was, like, a drastic difference. But even then, Moira's not usually picked because of her healing output. Still, it's because of, like, she gets to do this extra damage. She herself is very hard to kill. That's, like, the thing Moira has over the other main healers. Moira is hard to kill. And then, like, Coalescence is somewhere between an aggressive defensive ultimate, blah, 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 blah. The moral is no healer is picked because of their healing output. It's always because of the utility attached to them besides their healing. Lucio isn't picked for the healing aura, he's picked for the speed aura. Be in speed as much as possible. Don't pick Mercy in bronze. People are too bad for you to play Mercy right there. Mercy requires too much effort from her teammates. The other thing is just, like, losing streaks happen. That's a very bad losing streak, certainly, but, like, such is life. Sometimes it happens. I also, this post kind of coincides with Mercy getting nerfed, so I wonder if that has something to do with it. But, yeah, don't play Mercy in bronze. See, help a plat out. Oh, it's a coaching thing. If you have problems with overheating, set your PC, CPU max, sure, whatever. How to properly peel. The other day I was playing comp, around 3200 SR. I was duoed with a mate, he was Zen and I was Zarya. The enemy team's DPS was doing their job of flanking Zen and killing him before I could even turn to bubble him. Feel it is my fault Zen died, he was positioned correctly in the backline. What can I do to help my Zen? So as Zarya specifically, it's like you gotta know they're coming and bubble him before he dies, is the very direct answer is just, like, pay attention and bubble him before he's in the position he's dead, you know? The thing is that the way Zarya peels is that, like, she basically just has to damage the person off of them. Like, you put the bubble on the person, and then, like, you try and get between the person you're trying to protect and the person attacking them. This doesn't work if it's someone like Winston, obviously, but if it's someone like Tracer, you can stand or Genji, you can stand between the Tracer and Genji and the Zenyatta and, like, body block for them. But, like, aside your bubble, you just kind of have to try and bully the person away. That's, like, what Zarya does to make space for her team. She bubbles for the person, and then has to actually be a damaging threat to make them go away. So as Zarya specifically, you just kind of have to pay more attention. Which doesn't sound particularly helpful, but, like, if you didn't even get to the point of bubbling him, there's already been a mistake in here, because that's how Zarya does it. She has to use her bubble to try and save someone, usually, right? So, just, like, pay more attention. So, that's Zarya specifically. If you're like Roadhog, it's a lot easier to body block, but then you zone with the hook as well, because if you don't think you can, like, if you're not confident you're going to hook the Tracer or the Genji, who are, like, hard people to hook in general, holding on to the hook can end up being better than actually hooking the person, because once the Tracer or Genji has seen you use the hook, they're like, oh, that Roadhog's not a threat anymore, and then they just, like, go past you and start trying to kill the Zenyatta, because suddenly Roadhog without his hook, not as scary. So if you aren't confident you're going to hook them, it's better to just hold on to it and try to zone them with the threat of the hook, rather than actually trying to hook them. And then, you know, once they're in a position where you're like, I got it now, you know, once you've taken the extra time to line it up and all that, fair enough, but, like, if it's a relatively low percentage chance of hooking them, that often, like, if you're trying to save someone from a flanker, you missing your hook will basically make the flanker go, oh, it's free now, I can just walk past Roadhog. It's like I'm basically taking this from the position of, like, off tanks, and, like, D.Va doesn't really peel for her teammates much. You know, you can, like, push because she's usually being more aggressive than that. But, you know, you can hold defense matrix over them. You can push the person back with the boosters. Big hero, easy to body block. Same with Orisa. You know, like, it's easier if you're a hero that's got crowd control. Like, halt the person back, then they're slowed down. It's a lot harder for the person to kill them at that point. Someone like Zarya specifically, you know, Zarya's the one in the question, like, you have to bully the person away and use the bubble. If you have a crowd control effect like a knockback or the hook, it's a lot easier. Like, Zarya has to physically threaten the person away by actually, like, threatening to murder them. Because that's all Zarya's got in the ways of zoning, really. You know, she's got the bubble, but, like, when you see a glowing Zarya, you're like, oh, fuck, I don't want any part of that, right? So, that's, like, the idea with Zarya specifically. Reload management, so the gist of this was basically, like, how do I stop myself from reloading badly? And the answer is just, like, be really cognizant of what you're doing and, like, chastise yourself every time you reload, like, the second you stopped firing, which is the usual issue people have. Like, and I mean, often that's fine anyway. Like, the idea is to reload when there's downtime. So if you stopped shooting, there's likely downtime, because otherwise you were probably still shooting. It's more of an issue for someone like Roadhog, you have to actually, like, count your shots when you're playing Roadhog, because otherwise you end up in the position where you're hooking someone and then immediately have to reload when they arrive, which is very sad indeed. It's more punishing for people who have, like, really long reload times. Like, if you're Orisa, reloading every time you stop firing is, like, really bad, because she has, like, an actually, like, 3-second long reload time. Like, it's insane. Sombra as well. She's got a big clip, but her reload is, like, surprisingly long for an SMG. So, if you got a big clip, basically, a big clip and a long reload, don't, like, Hammond as well is quite a bad one to reload on just whenever. Like, you know, just, like, be really cognizant of the fact you're doing it, and just, like, chastise yourself every time you do it. Like, when you just... And eventually, like, this is how our stupid monkey brains are, eventually it'll stick, and you'll stop doing it. Anything like this breaking, like, bad habit stuff is always just, like... Just be really aware of when you're doing it, and tell yourself off every time, and eventually it'll stick. And then, bonus question... When I'm playing Orisa, is it wise to use Fortify when a hog is halting? The answer is almost always no. Because what happens 9 times out of 10 is the Roadhog just goes, sick, and walks right up to you, and just puts the gun in your mouth, and you die. Because you're suddenly not getting pushed away. And, like, Roadhog's ultimate does a lot of damage when every bullet's hitting you, even if you have the damage reduction. So like, it's just like, it's not a threatening ultimate. Right? Like, it doesn't kill you. It's an ultimate that creates space. So it's very rarely worth fortifying it, because, like, you're just gonna end up getting shot a fucking lot as a result of it. Whereas if you're getting pushed away, like, you're getting pushed away. Whatever. He's probably not gonna kill you at the same time, right? And, like, your whole team's getting pushed back behind you, probably, while you're just standing there. So, like, you're slowly getting more and more out of position as the rest of your team gets pushed away. So there are very few situations it's worth it. And it's basically like, if I get knocked off this point right now, we lose, is basically it. So, no. You almost always just end up dying, or at greater risk of dying when you fortify whole hog. Database for pro stats, I don't know. Stacking, I'm comps. I have a small curation about the MM system. How is it possible for 4 people, diamond, gold, and plat, to match together and get on the enemy team mid-plats, plus the enemy only has... I'm having trouble following this question. The answer, like, so it goes for the average SR, or average MMR of all the players, which is, like, between diamond and gold, it's plat. Especially if there's a plat in there, dragging the average closer to plat. Yeah, like, the answer is, it looks at the average of all the players. It does go with some weird stack stuff, just as, like, sometimes it's like a trio, and a trio is equivalent to a 6 stack. Not really. But, you know, if you say so, matchmaker. Am I doing something wrong? I've lost the past couple of games and dropped from high plat down to the brink of going back into gold. I'm playing Diva, I've been getting gold, DPS, or limbs, but I can't seem to carry my team to victory. Is there something else I could do to help my game? Try playing more like a tank and less like a DPS. Is almost always the answer for that kind of question. If you're playing Reinhardt and you're looking at yourself every game and you've got, like, gold damage, gold eliminations, start asking yourself, am I playing like a tank, or am I playing like a DPS? And if the answer is, I'm playing more like a DPS, consider playing more like a tank. XQC all golds is tank questions. Why does he have all golds when he plays tanks? Why don't the DPS have it? Why is it accepted by everyone in the lobby? But in Diamond, even if you have all golds as DPS, they still shit on you if you lose. XQC is a very aggro player. So it's not too surprised. Like, he's an aggro player. Like, when I played a lot of Reinhardt, I very frequently had the gold damage medal and gold eliminations, because I like to hit people with my hammer. So that's the end. And I never brought it up because I was like, I'm pushing the charge key a fucking lot. So it's not surprising that I have the gold damage medal right now. And people who are playing with XQC should understand that, like, he has the medals because he's an aggro player. That's probably the answer. I'm sure XQC is the guy I'm thinking of. I'm sure he's the aggro player. What do the comments say? Is he the aggro one? XQC is also incredibly aggressive. Most times it pays off in team wins, when on occasion he'll stay and fight. Yeah, that's the thing with, like, the aggro play style, is that, like, if it works out, it works. But it backfires really badly. And if you're a very aggro player, you are more likely to end up in bad situations, you know? So you got two kinds of people. You got two kinds of people. So, yeah, aggro player. Anyone know of a Discord group that hosts pickup games? And nope. What does everyone think of the new visor.gg hack? That's the thing that tells you when the enemy has ults and stuff like that. I mean, it's not hard to guess that regardless. This is the one that, like, coaches you in-game, right? And replaces it with warnings when the other team has ult and shit like that. That's literally it. I didn't know it did that. I didn't know it, like, showed you the enemy team's ult. This is the thing where I'm like, it's not hard to track that anyway, but, like, yeah, just having an app that does that for you does take away part of the skill. So, yeah, a lazy shortcut. It's like, so if I may segue into League of Legends briefly. So in League of Legends, you know, it's a MOBA, there's the 3 lanes, but then there's also the jungle, which has these powerful monsters in it that gives you buffs when they die. And the monsters are all on a set respawn limit, or a set timer. When they die, the timer starts and they will respawn that time. Like, the dragon will respawn 6 minutes from when it is killed. The Baron will die 7 minutes from when it is killed. The blue buff and red buff will respawn 5 minutes from when they are killed. And you can track all of that yourself, yeah. Eventually, they just put that in the game, that it would track it for you. Like, as soon as you knew it died, it would just show you on, like, the tab screen how long it would take for that creature to respawn. And there was outcry at the time because it was like, it's just taking an element of skill out of the game, right? It's like, yeah, it's not hard to track it. You just, like, note that it died and go, 6 minutes from now. So, 12 plus 6, all that. But it's like, yeah, it removes an element of skill from the game, which is, with, like, League of Legends, I didn't really care, because I didn't consider that to be that big of a deal. But something like, I guess, like, if it just tells you the enemy team has ultimates, that's, like, a bigger deal for something like Overwatch, right? Not to imply that the Baron buff is, like, worthless in League of Legends or anything, but, it's a more directly impactful thing, right? Like, if you just know Genji has Dragon Blade, then suddenly you know to play more cautiously because something is blinking at you, Genji has Dragon Blade, right? Whereas, yeah, you can infer, oh, Genji's probably got Dragon Blade right now. Or you could, if you get killed by Genji, you can just watch the kill cam and go, oh, he's got his ult right now. It's like, yeah, there's ways to track it, and there's, like, game sense and everything, but, like, just having an app that just goes, oh, he has it now, is kind of, it's cheap. Well, it's not cheating by any means, but we'll say it's cheap. Does it do anything else? People need to look what Visor actually does it, assuming it works as intended. Often incorrectly when someone has ult. It tells you your healers are the first to die in team fights, and it gives Garbo hero advice. Nobody should use it if they're serious about it. I mean, we're getting some conflicting reports here. I'm surprised people are only now learning about Visor. It has existed for quite a while. And with Flames, it has never actually used it. Jane puts it very well. It has a long way to go before it becomes useful, let alone cheating. Well, he's a smarter man than me, so we'll go with that assumption. Yeah, but if it if it does reach the point where it tells you accurately if the enemy team has ultimates, you know, and stuff like that, no, it's not cheating, but it is cheap, certainly. I always thought Ana was better for the current, she was fine for the meta as is, but people just had this aversion to Ana because of, you know, previous experience, basically. Not unimaginable for a hero that just got nerfed to see a lowering in win ratio. That's just how it is. Aim question? Oh gee, I wonder what this question will be about. So I know I'm never going to have incredible aim, it's just not me. As such, I tend to pick characters like Junkrat, Mercy, and Reinhardt. However, I'm planning to do some regular aim training with Ana bots. I don't think that that's helpful. I think it can actually be detrimental, because the AI doesn't act like a human being acts. So it doesn't build the right kind of muscle memory, because bots move in patterns, which humans do not typically do. So I don't think that the Ana bots thing is actually particularly helpful. Ana also has an easier model to headshot than quite a lot of people, because she's hunched forward. She's like squat and hunched forward, right? So it's like easier to headshot her relative to someone pencil thin like Widowmaker. I don't think the Ana bot thing is particularly helpful. I think it can actually be detrimental. So where's the question in here? I'm also to know if I'm likely to see some minor improvements by upgrading my hardware. 60 FPS to 144 FPS is not as dramatic of an increase. Like, even though it's a bigger number, right? 30 to 60 FPS is a significant improvement. 60 FPS to 144 is not actually that noticeable, because you kind of get diminishing returns on something like that, right? Just because of, like, how human beings are, basically. You start getting diminishing returns on frame rate, so you might see a minor improvement. Like, the increase you would see from 30 to 60 is probably fairly substantial. The increase you see from 60 to 144, it's gonna be lower than that, even though it's going double again. So, you know, it's going from single, it's gaining a whole extra digit. Like, I know, it's not actually, you get diminishing returns on frame rate. Any chance we can make, probably not. I did check that the other day, it had like 3 posts on it, so, you know, unlikely. Yes, this is the hardest SR range to climb out of. Because that's where people get the ego in, right? They're like, I should be masters, right? I'm gonna pick Genji and, like, carry because I should be in masters. I should. These are the people trying to get into masters, but they can't quite do it. But they have the ego that they are master players. They just need to get a little bit higher. So that's what, this is like the SR range you are most likely to get like 4 and 5 DPS on your team. Because that's where that's the SR range where people have too much ego to change off of the DPS character. It's terrible. Slightly, that's diamond, not masters. You had a pen replace masters with diamond. It's still true, okay? Like, they have the ego, I should be diamond. Just going into diamond is also really bad. Like, when you just get into the very lower end of an SR bracket, that's usually worse than just below the SR bracket, because once you get into it, like, just barely into diamond, that's where people who only had aspirations to get to diamond are like, I did it, who gives a shit, Torbjorn. Plat. I'm in Plat, that's all I want, Torbjorn. You know, that's how it is. But yes, this is where people have developed too much ego to change off of the heroes, to change off of their DPS heroes. Any tips to survive Doomfist ult as Ana? If the Doomfist does it right, you die. That's how it is. Like, you can mitigate it somewhat by trying to position near corners and barriers so that you can use them to break line of sight quickly. because you can't get out of the epicenter quickly enough as Ana. She has no mobility. So you're dependent on, like, Zarya helping you, or you can try and mitigate it by standing next to things that you can use to break line of sight quickly. But the caveat is, if the Doomfist does it correctly, you die. That's it. There's nothing you can do as Ana if the Doomfist does it right. Especially on, like, some maps it's just not feasible. Like, if you're on, like, the first checkpoint on Junkertown, there's not many corners you can play around on that checkpoint, especially after the card has pushed a certain way. So it's just like, if the Doomfist does it right, you die. You can kind of try and juke him by, like, moving a little sporadically in the little area where he might think you're going to go one way, and, like, put his cursor on the extreme end of that, and then you just suddenly pivot and go the other way, and you get, like, just out of the epicenter enough to survive, but, like, if the Doomfist does it right, you die. That's the unfortunate reality of that one. And, you know, if Ana gets more popular, Doomfist might get more popular as a result. How do I stop or limit my competitive anxiety? It's mostly just play, yeah. But any tips? So, the biggest thing that people usually have is that they're afraid people are going to judge their performance one way or the other, right? Like, they're afraid that they're going to let down their own team, or they're afraid that the enemy team is, like, going to make fun of them and stuff like that, right? The important thing to remember is you will never see these people again, right? Like, you will not see these people again. You might see, like, one or two of them again in the next game, but, like, if you're in, like, the median SR range, you won't, because there's so many people around you that, like, you'll never see those people again. Even in, like, high diamond, like, masters range, I still rarely see people again, right? Like, there are a few people I've seen repeatedly. Some people I have a certain rapport with. There's this one boy who... There was this one time I was playing Mercy Horror upon Horrors, and he was playing Genji, and he wanted me to pocket him. And I was like, no, because you're suicidal. And so he threw that game. And now anytime he's on the same team as me, he just throws. This just stuck. And now that happened like 5 seasons ago. That's just how our rapport is. It's alright, because whenever he's on the other team, he loses. So it evens out in the end, right? You're never going to see those people again. So it's not worth worrying about, frankly, because, like, alright, you're gonna be with them for, like, 15 minutes, but then they stop existing to you, right? Like, that person, as soon as you leave that game, they may as well have just blinked out of existence, because you'll never see them again. It's not worth worrying about it. That's, like, the issue usually people have with competitive anxiety. But, like, I used to have it. The issue, for me, it was just, like, just forced myself to do it. And eventually I was like, it's actually just kind of the same as the other game modes, really. But now it puts a number at the end of the game, like, you gained and lost this many points. Other than that, it's, like, the exact same experience, really, you know? Except you don't have, like, 3 Torbjorns, you know, stuff like that. Sometimes you do. Because people are shit, you know. Just how life is. Discussing main tanks versus off tanks regarding Winston. I enjoy Ryan and Orisa, but I have far more fun playing Winston. My survivability is wasted since I learning him, but mostly I jump to the backlines, yeah. I get that tanks like Ryan and Orisa have shields and considered main tanks. They create space and push forward while protecting their team from damage. What I don't get is how Winston falls into this category. I don't see how his shield is particularly effective. How do I use Winston as a main? So, no, the shield, it doesn't compare to Rhine and Orisa, and you don't use it for the same reason. Like, you don't put the bubble down in the choke point because it doesn't do anything. You need the bubble for when you jump in on people. So, the way I look at it is the main tanks are the ones that have the biggest presence, right? Like, they are the heroes that, like, demand some kind of reaction from the enemy team when you do something, right? Like, Reinhardt walking at you with his shield up demands some kind of response, whether it's trying to kill the Reinhardt or backing away from the Reinhardt, whatever. You have to respond to the Reinhardt one way or the other, right? And like hit that Reinhardt's zone of threat is significant enough you can't ignore him. Winston's like the same way. If he jumps into your backline, you have to respond to him, because he will kill the Mercy that he's jumped on if you don't help her, right? Whereas if you talk like someone like Zarya or Roadhog, yeah, like they're scary. You don't want to be next to Roadhog. You don't want to be next to the charged Zarya, but like they don't have the same presence as someone like Reinhardt, because like Reinhardt also has like the Earth Shatter threat, whereas like Roadhog's got a whole hog, you know? Like Reinhardt Earth Shatters you, and then he goes in and swings on 3 people and they die, right? Like Reinhardt's threatening. Winston is also threatening, and he's hard to deal with, is the other part of it, right? It's like if a Zarya just like runs into you, it just runs into your team, you go, the fuck are you doing? And you just like slap her back down again, because she just doesn't have like the survivability to do that. She's only got 400 health and the 1 shield, right? Whereas like someone like Winston jumps into you, and if he has his bubble, this is the thing, because most Winston players do is they put their bubble down for no reason, then jump in while their bubble's on cooldown. If he jumps in with the bubble, and then you actually still have his bubble, he's difficult to deal with, right? Like, you probably won't kill him. We'll get to jump away, probably, because you have to actually, like, get in the bubble to kill Winston, and then he starts doing the dance on the edge of the bubble. It's very hard to kill him. It's hard to get crowd control to land on him, because he's dancing in and out of the bubble. It's hard to get damage to land on him unless you just ignore shields, because he's dancing in and out of the bubble, right? And the whole time he's doing guaranteed damage, right? Because Tesla Cannon is going to hit you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And if you compare him to someone like D.Va, right, you don't have the same effect. Because D.Va, she has Defense Matrix, but that isn't full 360-degree coverage, right? And she has to stop using Defense Matrix to shoot at somebody, and it is a much more limited resource. So, while she theoretically has higher kill pressure, she's easier to deal with because she doesn't have, like, the protection of the bubble. So, and then Winston also has Primal Rage on top of that, whereas D.Va has Self-Destruct, which is not as good in terms of survivability as Primal Rage is. And then when he's using Primal Rage, fuck, you really can't ignore him now, can you? So, like, that's the thing with, like, the main tanks to me, is, like, they have presences that are impossible to ignore, because if you do ignore them, you lose, right? Someone like Roadhog or Zarya, I quite often end up ignoring those people. I've never been in a situation where I was able to just completely ignore a Reinhardt, right? Like, that's just how it is. So that's, like, the thing with Winston being a main tank, is, like, he has an unignorable presence, right? Like, he is in you, he is disrupting people, because he's hard to remove quickly, and he is going to kill somebody if you don't intervene, because he can't miss them, basically. And, like, how do I use him as a main? You just play Winston. Like, there's no special trick to it, right? Like, you don't play in some weird counterintuitive way where you use your bubble to block the choke point and move people through. You don't do that. That's just not how the bubble is. You play Winston exactly the same way as you want to play Winston. You jump in on the enemy team and you disrupt them. You play Winston. There's no special play style to it. It's just, like, people have this way of, like, psyching themselves out about it because they compare Winston to Reinhardt, and they are both trying to do two dramatically different things, right? Reinhardt's about protecting his team. Winston's about disrupting the enemy team. They're both main tanks because of their sheer presence, but they go about being a main tank in completely different ways. The one consistency, I guess, with all the main tanks is that they do have a shield, but, like, Winston, like, they all still function differently, right? Like, Reinhardt's shield does not operate the same way as Orissa's shield. They're still trying to do two different things, really. Like, Orissa is a much more, like, slow and steady wins the race kind of hero, whereas Reinhardt is, like, the faster option than, like, they do two similar things in that they're trying to, like, creep forward, but, like, Orissa has this, like, slow and steady leapfrog style, whereas Reinhardt has, like, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, you know? And then Winston is like, let's go. So, you know, there's no special, like, play style to it. It's just that, like, he's an off-tank because of his presence, same as Ryan and Orissa. There's no special trick to it, but, like, That's like how I think of the main tanks anyway. They have unignorable presences. Why does everyone seem to have a problem with Tracer? I recently started playing Tracer again, just in quick play, because I'm not as good with her as I used to be. Since her new Atlantic All-Star skin just released, I've been trying to adjust to my team comp. I've been trying to adjust her to my team's comp, since I've been dying to play as her. Everyone I've played with has been asking me to switch to another character because she doesn't fit the current team comp. I have no issue with this, as I enjoyed my... Is she really that bad of a character to play with the current state of the game? So, Tracer to me is one of those heroes that's never bad. Like, Genji's never bad, really. He can be, and like, if the enemy team is like, Winston, Mei, Bridget, McCree, alright, it's getting a bit excessive at that point, maybe change off of Genji, but like, Genji is like a hero that you can play in almost any situation. Tracer's the same way, you can play her in almost any situation. The problem is just that they're high execution characters, so if you are not playing well, you're doing nothing, basically. Because they're heroes that are very reliant on like pressuring and killing people, so if you don't execute well, you're just kind of pretty much dead weight. Tracer's a hero that's never really bad. If the enemy team is something similar to what we just outlined, with like Winston, Mei, McCree, Bridget, it's getting a bit excessive. You're gonna have trouble moving around at that point because like, there's a flashbang there, there's a wall there, there's Bridget's stun over there, Winston's tasing me over here. Oh god. Oh, just suddenly started dying. So, you know, but like, and that's more dependent on the enemy team than your team, right? Like, as far as I'm concerned, Tracer and Genji fit into almost any team composition. Like even olden Deathball, right, used to still typically operate with the Tracer because it was like Ryan, Zarya, Mercy, Lucio, McCree, Tracer. And then it's like the 5 people are moving forward together and then Tracer's doing the flanking stuff to like, because that's like diverting attention away from the front line and then the Deathball rolls right on through the rest of you, right? Like, even like Deathball comps typically ran Tracer or Genji because of like they're pressuring the other people and then that makes it easier for the Deathball to get in. Like, Tracer and Genji and Tracer, I think, fit into almost any team composition, right? Even if you're doing like pirate ship, right? Like, they're distracting people, which makes it easier for Bastion to do shit, because like suddenly they want to be focusing on the Bastion, but they're having to focus on you, because if they don't focus on you, you'll kill them, right? Like, it's just that they're like, I don't think she's a bad character. Like, it's Tracer and Genji are characters that it's going to be hard for them to ever be bad heroes because they can outplay their counters, right? Like, I've played Bridget against Tracer. Bridget's like the best counter in the game to Tracer, and still like, if the Tracer's better than me, I don't kill the Tracer, because the Tracer outplays me. That's just how it is, right? Like, I'll get her occasionally, but like, I'll still get the Tracer now and then, but like, if the Tracer's better than me, the Tracer's better than me, right? There's only so much you can do about that one. Even if you're playing a counter, you can still get outplayed, especially with heroes like Genji and Tracer, who have so many ways to outplay their counters. So like, no, I don't think she's a bad hero, it's just she's very execution-based more than anything else. And like, it's one of those things where, like, if the team is doing badly, you're the thing that's going to get picked as the source of blame, right? Because they'll look at you and be like, you got like, Widowmaker. If that person was playing a more consistent hero like Soldier, we'd be winning. Even though a bad Soldier is actually every bit as bad as a bad Widowmaker, because they're both still doing, like, they're not doing any damage. Like, a bad McCree, it's very unlikely people are going to shit on McCree, right? Because they see McCree as being a very consistent hero. A bad McCree is as dead weight as a bad Widowmaker. They're both really position-based heroes, right? McCree's got bigger room for error, sure, but like, if McCree ain't hitting anything, he ain't doing shit. This is the exact same issue as a Widowmaker. Widowmaker at least has this giant zoning threat where like, you don't want to be in her line of sight because she can one-shot you, right? McCree doesn't even have that. So it's like a bad McCree is as bad as a bad Widowmaker, really. It's just, people just don't look at it that way. It's just like, if you're playing Tracer or Genji and things are going badly, you're going to be the thing that gets blamed, because that hero you're playing has a reputation attached to it. So like, that's going to be the source of blame, is the main thing. So, anyway, It's been almost an hour. We've done good 2 pages. Good job, team. So thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly, have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. And I hope you found the video helpful.